Awesome. Well, I just want to formally thank everybody that's joined us today, and we're going to be looking at the finalist presentations for the KeyShot Gravity Sketch Challenge, and we have 5 finalists here presenting some hiking backpack concepts, and we're joined by judges Roshan Hakim, Nick Baker, and Noah Sussman. And they will be reviewing the designs today, and we'll be going through those, and then we'll have a winner announced in a few days. So without further ado, Akil, if you're ready, you can go ahead and begin your presentation.
So first of all, as a beginning, I would like to thank and congratulate all the finalists, and also thanks to Gravity Sketch and KeyShot collaborating forming such a fantastic event and platform for us to share our work in front of such a legend juries. So as a start of the presentation, I would like to start with the workflow of my process. So before everything, I started a bit primary research about hikers and hiking. I went to their lifestyles, some hikers in YouTube and other platforms. So, and then I generated certain constraints which I need to follow in the entire process. So, which will anyway speak in the way forward. So I started with, well, coming to the ideation part, I started with basic form exploration. And I I had a clear distinction. This was one of the main constraints which I wanted to follow in the entire entire process, which was I had a clear distinction between a rucksack and a hiking backpack. A hiking backpack is basically something which will be used for a 1 day or maybe like an overnight trip, a small trip compared to a rucksack. So, so hence these hikers, they want to carry less, and they want to carry less, but in an optimal way. So compact design and minimal compact and effective design was one of the main constraints, and yet not to make it in that much of spec related to or compared to a rucksack. So I started with my basic form exploration or silhouette exploration, which I did, and and after that I came to certain detail and form explorations. Then I came to my final design and sketches in terms of its detail. Also, I also explored certain hardwares which I wanted to implant in the design. For example, D-ring, O-rings, snap buckles. Webbing endings, things like that. And this was the final sketch which I applied for this contest and which led me here. And now we can, so after that, the next step which I followed was basically, understanding or figuring out my inspirations and basically making boards as inspiration, so that in later in my process that would help me. So basically I made 3 different boards, which is my color board, and which is my material board, and which is my detail board. So in my color board, I actually this was one of the constraints which I derived in the process, which is since hiking backpacks is mostly used outdoors, so they hikers prefer more dark colors, and hence I could and so that they can manage and their bags for a long run, and also they don't wash it much frequently, so its dark colors are more preferred. So hence from that point I concluded taking certain Pantones and taking certain color combinations. After that, material was one of the main constraints. Material, I wanted to make it really lightweight, so I chose material which were lightweight, such as neoprene, and also adaptability of certain those material to certain climatic condition was also one of the points which I could derive. So hence TPU or coated or WR coated fabrics or materials were preferred. And also I wanted to add certain textures to my back padding and things like that. So hence certain images to relate that to. And these are basically the detail boards. I wanted to make my bag a little athleisure driven sort of look. So I go to, in my detail board, I basically added details such as bungee cord details, perforation details, eyelet details, uh, added silicone or rubber patches, etc. So coming to the backpack, the backpack name which I've given is High Kite, which means high glide, like a kite on heights. So so coming to the features of my backpacks, it is basically modular. It has modular and add-on features. So in a model, if we see, there are certain details on the front part of the bag where certain loop and cord details where we can actually fasten our hiking tools or hiking gears, and also certain webbing loops where we can actually attach certain extra pouches or even sanitizer pouches or sanitizer loop. And also for like if you see the base part of the bag, it has a loop where we can actually fasten a G-hook webbing where we can actually adjust and fasten the any extra adding such as the mat or a tent or things like that, or an extra pouch or a sleeping bag in case we need. And also when speaking about the modular or addition features, the sternum strap also I've tried to make it detachable, which again bring it to that modular concept. So maybe in terms of normal use, they may not have to use those. And also here in the this D-ring, which is in the shape of a triangle, again that is some add-ons, like some add-ons can happen here also, something like a mask pouch or a sanitizer in a situation like this especially. And coming to the other feature, quick access and easy pouches. So in the waist pouch, we actually have a quick access. What happens is in their hiking journey, sometimes they really need to take things on the way, on the go. So in considering that fact, I've added certain quick access pouches and details where they would they'll actually use. So this pouch was one of that detail, and also this bottle elastic neoprene bottle holder, which we see in the right part of the model. So that is also something which adds to the point of modularity, where we can actually, so basically they carry a bladder or a small bottle of water. So in that case, this is an ideal like a feature which they can, on the go also they can take and use certain thing. And also, if you see the side part of both the side gusset of both the bags, you have a pouch or easy access pouch or a sleeve sort of pocket which you see. That is also for such quick grab things. And also, if you see the render in the middle, the gray one, so what happens is the interior of the bag, since they tend to, hikers tend to carry less, but in an optimal way. So they basically want to, they basically want to carry less, but in an effective way. But what happens in a backpack like this is what the space is actually not utilized. 25% of the backpack space is actually not well utilized. So basically things get accumulated in the bottom of the bag, and the space above is actually getting wasted. So this feature is actually for that basically. So on the go, in case of any quick grab of things, like, so we may actually since this is one main compartment backpack, so things will get accumulated in the bottom of backpack. We won't be able to there's a big struggle in taking out the decides. So the stuffs which are actually in emergency or maybe used very frequently can be kept in this pouch. which is actually collapsible when it is not used. So if you see the sketch, so I also had a thought of having a UV pouch instead of that as an alternate idea. So where we can actually on the go in terms of any like anything which you need to sanitize, you can actually sanitize in this UV pouch and then use. So coming to the ergonomics features of this bag, so we having there are the back panel of a backpack and the overall silhouette is one of the main thing which we consider or feature when we consider in terms of ergonomics. For example, this S-shaped strap is something which is proven and most backpacks or backpack brands use, because it actually takes the form of since the the sleeve have to, I mean the strap has to come here and have to end or maybe blend with the back panel of the bag. It actually, this S shape of the strap basically helps in perfect fit or inclination to the chest or the sternum area.
Uh, so we're Harshin and Faniram Lalpit. We're actually both brothers, and yeah. So let me just give you an introduction of both of us. I am Harshin, and I am an automobile engineer by profession. I'm currently working in the electric vehicle industry in India, and I'm an entrepreneur. And moving on to Fanira.
I'm Faniram, and I recently graduated in industrial design, and I also interned with Puma a couple of months ago, and I'm currently freelancing with them. So we'll move on to the project now.
Yeah. So beginning with the presentation. So when we got the problem statement that we had to work on hiking backpacks, we started digging in because I had some experience using a hiking backpack, but then it wasn't exactly for a hiking application. And then when we started researching further, what we understood and what we were trying to, you know, compress all the information and come to a conclusion was hiking backpacks has a lot of information which a newbie or a new person has to digest when they have to start using a backpack as such. For example, the weight distributions, the number of straps, how you have to adjust them, the way you have to pack your material, pack your belongings in a manner that the backpack is used efficiently. So when we were doing all this, what we also realized was if the backpack is not packed the right way, it could lead to a lot of chronic issues for the future. And what we try to focus on with our design attempt is to focus on how to make the whole hiking backpack experience a lesser intimidating one than how it is on the market presently, and at the same time also handle this issue of not having to deal with the stresses or the pain, the back pains, which would come if the backpack is not used properly. Uh, uh, for instance, also considering that the weight distribution is not set, or and also that the straps are not adjusted properly. So just to give you an example over here, so this is how it looks when you're trying to pack your backpack. You have your sleeping bags, you have your tent, you have your water bottle, you have your clothes. So all the heavy items are generally closer to your back and somewhere near your, just above your hip. Oh sorry, my bad. Most of the weight is right behind your shoulder, right at the shoulder height, and the lower you go, the weight reduces somewhere close to your as you go down the spine. So majority of the weight is concentrated on this part that is on the back. For instance, if you see this lady over here, this is how most of the load is concentrated on her back, and this is how, like, if you look at her stance, this is how we get our stance of walking right from prehistoric days, right from the evolution of mankind as such. So this is where the majority of the weight concentration is supposed to be, and that's as you go down, the amount of the volume or the weight concentration as you go further down reduces. So most of your weight is concentrated onto your shoulders. So we will come back to why most of your weight is concentrated on your shoulders in a bit. When we were researching and reading through a lot of scientific journals, what we understood was most of the hiking injuries due to usage occurs in the knee and the ankle area, the knees and ankles. But the third highest issue comes due to back pains. Now, if you could see these group of travelers over here, you would observe a peculiar issue. Like if you see the lady over here, she hasn't strapped properly. And if you see, if you see, her backpack is going lower than her waistline. Now, this is a bad indication while you're wearing a backpack. You could see a similar thing with this person's case as well. It is going below the waistline. So these are not good ways of wearing a backpack. Probably they are newbies. Probably they are new to the whole trade. So this is the ideal way of walking when you're inclined slightly further and all the weight is concentrating on your back, and if you are supported with a hiking stick, that would give you an advantage when you are going on hikes. And coming back to the point of why the weight must be onto the shoulder. So here is this thing of your abdomen area and your the buttock region, the sacral region. So this joint, which is marked in red, is called an SI joint. It's a sacral iliac joint, which is a very, very tender joint in the human skeletal system. Now, what happens when you're wearing a backpack like this is the motion of the sacral iliac joint is curtailed. Now, when this movement is curtailed, it leads to a lot of pain issues. It leads to a lot of pain in the region above, in the spinal cord, and even down below. So you would start having pains in the legs, in the muscular region, down your legs, up your spine. And this is one of the major reasons for injuries to happen over time, and the recovery times go high. So what we tried to focus on was address this issue for beginners, so that they don't feel that hiking is an intimidating or getting a backpack is an intimidating task. So we went with the 65-liter category in the hiking backpack types, because it's one of the most used sizing in the backpack industry, specifically for hiking. So going on to the ideation, I'll just pass it on.
Yeah, so as Harshan was explaining the research, so our idea was to really focus on the top heavy and bottom lightweight sort of an idea. And this, we wanted to focus it towards the beginners in hiking. And for them, when you look at a normal backpack, so we actually went, we took a visit to Decathlon and we were trying on these hiking backpacks of like various sizing and various volumes, and we found that there's like a lot of straps on these hiking backpacks. Like you have the shoulder adjustment and the chest adjustment, then you have the waist, and then you have the top of the shoulder. You have to adjust the strap. So there were way too many, and we were planning to simplify and unify all of that into like one single system, and we were thinking of that. And this was sort of our inspiration. As you can see here, the robotic structure here shows the top heavy and bottom lightweight sort of a design. And we were looking at assistive prosthetics and human technology sort of language here. And there was this interesting system that we found, as you can see in the top right image. So this is a backpack that uses a single pull mechanism to sort of fasten the entire three directional strapping system, and that was really interesting. And there were like various other aspects, such as the frame, where as we know that when a human is walking, it's the shoulder and the torso is not always in the same axis of direction. There's always like the torsional twist happening. So for that, it's good to have a flexible frame. So starting off with that ideation, we created this initial render that again shows the top heavy and bottom lightweight, which is really happening because of this dynamic V-shaped frame that sort of pushes everything to the top.
So basically the waist strap and the shoulder strap, they are both activated at the same time using a motor system right behind over here. So basically this is a servo motor which would tighten in a clockwise direction and strap the whole shoulder strap and the waist strap. Now the reason why we went specifically for the waist strap and the shoulder strap is whenever you're donning on the hiking backpack, the first strap you tighten is the waist strap, and then you tighten the shoulder strap so that the backpack fits in. So this is something which could be preset, and the motor can be programmed in such a way that you could adjust as per your convenience, and with the torque sensing on the motor, we could actually be able to tell at what levels it is convenient for the donors, somebody for the one who is wearing the backpack, and as per that they could set up the adjustment and have different modes for different people. So just like how you could have like different seating positions for different drivers in a car.
So on this, you can see the feature of expansion. So we wanted to create a backpack that was in between the range of 35 liters to expandable up to 50 to 65 liters. And this is because the beginner backpacker has the option to either go day packing or even spend the night. So here the expansion really happens towards the top. So the top flap expands out, and then the top gray on the sides, it expands out a bit. So that is the expansion feature.
Very nice.
And as for the waist strap, we added two tiny pockets for all your basic essentials like the nutrition bar or your phones and AirPods and stuff like that. And yeah, that is all we've got. Thank you.
So first of all, absolutely lovely research, really good thought process, really solid argument for showing a backpack when you talk about, functionality and things like your cervical joints, lower back, proper movement, improper wearing of expensive bags, and that right there is a consumer benefit that bags like these really should address. And I look at this whole concept is built around a very solid argument of what are the consumer benefits. And I love that because that's a conversation that everyone is going to be interested in, from the consumer who buys it, but also all the way back upstream to your marketing team, your development team, your CEO, your marketing leaders. It's a beautiful story, great product, really seriously blown away by this. I love it. And I also love how much development happened from your initial sketch to your final form here. And I can't say enough good stuff about it. The opportunity that I would like to push you guys through now is, because you are actually proposing something innovative in a highly competitive marketplace, I would encourage you to use these tools to highlight this technology, to explain this concept, this system, visually, structurally. In other words, maybe there's 3 layers and you turn them on in order per element of the system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that this tool is absolutely, and it's all here. You can literally just drag these bits onto the layers, because I am absolutely in love with this idea, because now I have all these beautiful emotional shapes that are essentially, they have a reason for being there. And and these, these really fun. I mean, there's this stuff going on here, this sort of stuff. Yeah. That's epic. I mean, that's like Oakley level product design, product styling, where it's just pure emotion, but you have a very solid technical reason, which makes it an absolute must have. And honestly, I mean, yeah, okay, you've got a little pocket here for a candy bar, but that's not the point. For me, the point is really hit home with the system, hit home with, here's the problem, over here that we explained, and here's the solution, and give that to me in a step-by-step. Turn on the first layer, second layer, and the last layer of this design really is like, yeah, this is where your candy bar goes, this is where your jacket and your wet socks go.
Yeah, I agree with a lot what Noah said. I think your presentation was really nice and thought out. I liked the story that you told. Maybe would have liked, I think maybe some of these images, at least on my end, aren't as crisp, maybe tidy up a little bit. But I do like how you guys called out certain scenarios here and really walked us through. I think maybe the one inconsistency I found is, I think there was this idea of creating a bag for beginners, something that you didn't really have to worry about. You kind of popped it on and, hey, all the straps are ready for you. And then you kind of talked a lot about this motor system and carbon fiber structural system, and I in the real world those things would probably cost quite a bit of money, so it might not be at a beginner price point. So I think that conflict was something to work on. And then I think there's maybe some details, but I think maybe a couple details like the zipper kind of comes underneath the strap. Be nice to have that accessible at all times instead of having to undo the strap. But I do like this kind of like Noah said, this very I guess swooping frame, and I would love to see the actual frame itself without like the fabric around it, because in Gravity Sketch you can't really delineate between these different strokes here, so I think having layer system or different textures would have been great to add to your presentation. But overall, good job, guys.
Great job, yeah. As both of them said, research, ideation, exploration was great. I'm going to jump to a few points. I've taken a few notes, but one which stood out for me was I really liked, like for example here, so like over here you were showing how it's going below the waistline, and same over here. I think it would have been nice to duplicate that image, crop out that area, or just annotate, just so that you have the focus zones. That way, while we were waiting or while you're explaining, it's easier for the audience to follow through the conversation. And perhaps one bit which I didn't enjoy so much was that a lot of the explanation was done through sketches, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But let's just say that there is one sketch there, and you were pointing towards that sketch for a long while. Whereas I would have, I don't know, probably zoom-ins, call-outs, or trying to show that where that is in the model. Because we are in Gravity Sketch, and you could try to showcase some of the elements which you're talking about over here. So you were talking about the motor system. It would have been interesting if you could, I don't know, lower the transparency of the entire case unit, showcase how it pulls across and like that. But that's just more on communication. In terms of details, there's just few which I would like to bring to your attention because it's great work, and I think it might be just worth considering. So one was, instead of going for the high-tech motor, did you consider something like a BOA lacing system, which they use in shoes? So somewhere you can just pull in the cables before going for that solution. It's just to check yourself, do you really want to go for that high-end tech when you're trying to aim for a beginner? And the second was, you have two straps here, and as Nick pointed out, they're sort of in contradiction with the zippers there. So was there another archetype which you considered which had one main strap which deviated into two, or just moving the zippers onto the side, etc.? Plus, I think there are details which could be nice, such as, is there a top handle on the top by which the user can quickly grab it, place it aside, like a slot for a bottle? I'm not sure. I know there's a hydration system coming through, but very often in trekking, you also want to have a quick access bottle on the side. So these are some just the usual details which you could consider adding. But your foundation of your research exploration is brilliant. I think the communication and using Gravity Sketch to your advantage to showcase that concept is something which might work more in your favor.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, wait, you guys, before you jump back in, one last point that I realized, the beginner piece, I didn't quite catch on to that, but the fact that you have a system that addresses fit and prevention of injury, to me, that is a beginner. That's like an entry-level concept. That's the most basic thing about carrying a heavy bag, is not to injure yourself. The other stuff follows. And to that point, when you talk about having a motor that's here, I guess it's in the back and the bottom, okay, fine, not a motor, BOA, although BOA is going to be expensive as well. However you do it, if that system can be adjusted here at the bottom, what's cool is the ergonomics. You lift the bag, you have it on your back. In the past, you might lift with one hand or hop and adjust the straps over your shoulders, which it's hard to get a good fit, especially when you're tired. But with this system, if you reach down with both your hands, you lift the bag, and with your hands in that position here in the bottom, you could then activate your fit system, whether it's a motor, whether it's a BOA, whether it's just a pull cord. I really love the idea, and to me, that's a real innovation that I have not seen addressed. Everybody's just like, look, we have better webbing, we have a better buckle, but it's all the ergonomics, the usability, the user experience, user interface is always the same, more or less. But lifting here, both hands, right? And then your adjustment is here, and you can do it with your fingers on both sides to like lift it, lock it out, and you're good to go. That is new, that's interesting, that's innovative. And if you're trying to sell innovation, especially to price-sensitive companies, you really want to clarify it. And I think Gravity Sketch will give you that opportunity by, again, coming back to the, breaking out your system in a visible way, and not be too worried about zipper pulls and hydration systems, because that's been done.
Yeah.
I mean,
I also missed out one point, just want to add that, and that was your back support structure. I just love how It's just
So
very iconic, very memorable execution what you've done here. And also with the colors, it's brilliant how you've just played with the different levels, layers, and zooming in, seeing how the straps go in, form that tensile structure. That was just beautiful to just take in. And I was just staring at that for a minute or so before we started all presenting. So beautiful thinking there.
My name is Andre Parkinson. I'm a junior at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. I'm studying industrial design. I'm also the design manager for a student-led startup. And I was really excited to do this project. If you could start with those sketches right there, Jaron. This idea, I wanted to make a modular backpack because several years ago when I was starting design school, I had this conflict of, I needed different things on different days of the week. And sometimes my backpack was full to the brims and other days I hardly needed anything. So I wanted to create an object that you could really use and adapt to your situation. And when I heard about the Gravity Sketch Challenge, I was like, that would really work well in a hiking backpack setting, because I feel like in the modern day consumer is really not a single faceted person. We are becoming increasingly more interdisciplinary and a wide range of interesting and unique hobbies. And so I wanted to create a backpack that could support that kind of lifestyle. And as you can see, that top sketch right there, that was my the sketch that I entered to the challenge, and it shows there's different mods that you could put on your backpack to address a wide range of adventures and activities and things like that. And as my tagline that you could see at the very beginning was, one backpack, infinite adventure. And I really wanted to capitalize on, how can we make this object work for everyone and anyone at all. So next to these sketches, you can see these little mods that you could use, just some simple sub-D objects to show like different forms and things like that. And I spent a lot of my time was spent thinking about how do you, what kind of units would you build this out of? So essentially there's 1, 2, and 3 unit backpacks. And as we'll see a little bit later in the some of the imagery, but the one mod, you could fit 2 or 3 of these mods on your backpack, and then or one mod and a 2 mod, or 1 3 mod, depending on what type of adventure you're doing. So how it works is there's essentially a frame, like a pretty standard run-of-the-mill frame. It's made out of carbon fiber and is adjustable on the shoulders and the hips. And then on the back side, I have these 2 poles, dancer rods, that your backpacks, different mods could slide on. So you can see here I have one mod that is a 2 modular backpack, and then the second mod, which is my photography modular, that would slide on top of it. And that's more or less how it will work. And you can put those in different orders. Say you knew you were going to be camping and you needed to have quick access to your food. You can put your food on top, but your some of your supplies you wouldn't need so often, you could put in the bottom one, or vice versa, just depending on your what you need for your adventure. And you can see in the, just right above this character, there's my CMF board. And I wanted to make sure this backpack would work really well for a lot of environments. Like I said, the frame is going to be made out of carbon fiber in order to allow maximum strength and longevity of the product. It's also lightweight, really comfortable for long travel and such. The bottom part of each of the mods, I was researching a material. It's a type of it's essentially almost a rubber material. It's very waterproof and very durable. And I wanted to put that on the bottom of each one because imagine you're camping and you you set up your base camp, but you want to go take a day hike, and you don't need. There's a good amount of your supplies you don't need. I wanted it to be something you could take off, set in the dirt or mud. You don't have to worry about your backpack getting wet or the items inside getting wet. And so the bottom up is this really durable, rubbery material to keep things dry. And the main body is made out of a ripstop. You can also see on the back side of the mods, there's it's a different material, another waterproofing rubber, something that's a little more flexible and easy to bend and move. So those are kind of the materials, some ripstop that was really interesting to learn how to render and stuff. So that's kind of the CMF. The water bottle feature is it's removable, so you can put it on different places depending on your needs. Right now it's on the right side, but I wanted to make it so you could fit it on the other side. You can also see here's the hiking roll. You could fit your sleeping bag in that, or a tent, or a sleeping pad, and you can kind of just see this is how it would operate. And I wanted aesthetically, I took this idea of asymmetry. You can see in that on the strap is not like straight across the chest. It goes at an angle to create some visual interest and diversify it against other backpacks and things, as well as on that two segmented module that the main clip is at a unique angle, just to give it some visual interest. And there's different straps, so you could attach things on the sides. You could strap hiking poles to it or things like that.
First of all, the way you've organized all the content, it's super easy to navigate. Like first you have the inspiration on the side. Also love that little touch of the tagline being there in the back. I saw that really late in the process, but still, starting from the inspiration to the sketches, then going on to the contextual integrations, everything. I felt the chronology of storytelling was easy for the brain to just soak in. And also how you explain, I love the fact that you use the mannequins in context, like how he's hooking up one after the other. That's super nice. And also just the overall concept of the modular direction which you've chosen. I think that's a very interesting track. It also reminds me of Peak Design and their cubes inside their bags. But I like how you've just taken it on an external exposed architecture. And for example, like in the one in the center, he's just taking a sleeping blanket, and that's just brilliant. So great job there.
I was saying, I think the presentation is really awesome. I love this room that you've set up, and for the first time using Gravity Sketch, this is awesome. I think maybe some things to kind of improve on. I would say, modularity, that's really cool. I think designers are a sucker for modularity. We always love things that connect and Lego stuff and all that. Maybe some tips on kind of improving your Gravity Sketch technique. I would try to do one-to-one work in one-to-one scale. That way you could actually see how these details feel at one-to-one scale. Some of these things like your buckle here compared to this buckle, those are pretty wide in terms of scale. And then some other kind of things like these zippers are not necessarily feasible how they are. Zippers don't curve in a lateral direction, can curve them in a kind of a swept direction. But and I think maybe some more thought into how these straps work. I can't quite understand it. I'm sure that you had some intention for it, but
sure.
But yeah, overall, I think concept was really strong, and for the first time using Gravity Sketch, great work.
First of all, I absolutely love when there's personal aspect to a design presentation, because I think I've had to sit through enough where it was about price point, and that makes me die a little bit inside. I'm not kidding. I was over here taking pictures of your Gerber machete because I'm going to go buy one on Amazon when we're done. I
awesome.
Yeah, you got to put, if you don't put blood and sweat into this work, then you might as well, go get a job doing something else. And so you started down that road a couple times and my ears perked up. So I absolutely love that, and I encourage you to embrace that. moving forward. Modularity, as Nick said, is like the bane of every designer's existence because the possibilities are limitless. And I'm going to do a Swiss Army chair, a Swiss Army phone case, a Swiss Army pair of socks, whatever. It's fine. It's just if you're going to go down that rabbit hole, there are a couple things to look out for. And you started to do it with color. The main thing is the form language. I want to know that the bag over there on my kitchen table works with the bag sitting in the bedroom, works with the bag sitting on the counter in the bathroom, and I want to be reminded of all the missing components that I haven't bought yet or that are somewhere else in the house or in the garage. I want that form language to be a powerful cue, not only to the fact that it's a family, but also to the fact that they work together. Like you said, like Legos. Well, Legos, it's the ultimate form language. The top matches the bottom, matches the top, matches the bottom. And you're getting there. You have some of the cut lines, some of the radii that you have in the cut lines, some of just the form language is working. Obviously with color you've done it, but I want the form language to be so strong that it doesn't matter what colorways you use. Actually, the asymmetry on the chest belt caught my eye. And I don't know. I mean, I've been wearing messenger bags my whole life, and it's like, yeah, why not in a backpack? So I would love to see that pushed a little further. That asymmetry is kind of cool. And look, everybody's, you're either left-handed or right-handed when it comes down to it. Like you pull your cell phone out with the same hand probably 95% of the time. And a chest strap, you're just going to be more comfortable. And maybe I can decide whether it's slanting left or slanting right, but I liked that. I really did. I thought that was interesting. And all these the idea of your mod packs, I like it. You got a photo mod. You have an that looks like an EDC mod. I assume this is the zombie apocalypse mod right here.
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate
that. Works great for that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the machete, right? That's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like that. I would encourage you to don't be afraid to benchmark other brands when you're doing these projects because you're not the first person to do a backpack. And so be open to being absolutely inspired by some of the beautiful work out there. And your project makes me think of Hazard 4. And if you're looking at Hazard 4, then you're going to want to excel past that brand and what they do. And they have absolutely beautiful bags, and a lot of their stuff has a certain degree of modularity to it. And then my last thought here for you is that if you could take this concept and say, look, the part that interacts with the body, there's just one. I'm going to start with one thing. It's the strap. It's like a bandolier. And then I have, let's say, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Modularity. In other words, I can go from a half a kilo up to, let's say, 10 kilos. In other words, really think out that base system. I mean, you've got this bag or this body, but that's a big commitment.
Yeah.
And what about exploring, like the entry level version of this, where it's literally it can be worn as a waist belt or it can be worn as a bandolier. And that will accommodate everything up to a pretty decent sized messenger bag. So everything from like, smartphone plus a couple credit cards and some bubble gum.
Yeah.
As an entry, all the way up to a decent like messenger bag.
Okay, cool.
Good stuff. I like the presentation. Yeah, and honestly, it's just the problem is the images, and believe me, if this is your first time doing this in Gravity Sketch, it's a process of experimentation because it's also new.
Yeah.
And it's quite beautiful.
Well, it's been super cool.
It's all loaded, and it all looks really nice to me now. So you did a good job.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your guys' patience and time. This has been a really cool experience.
All right, so a brief introduction. I'm a computational designer and a product designer. Andrea, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Andrea, and I'm a professional CAD designer, and we try to merge both our knowledge into this process and into this project. And if you want, Faride, we can turn on.
Yeah, sure.
All the
yes, let's turn on the render. So Actually, we work with real problems every day, so we wanted to use this occasion to have some fun with the tool and actually invent a fake problem to solve.
Exactly.
The problem that we wanted to solve is to have this bizarre backpack that's holding some capsules with some precious specimen, and we thought that our user would be a person that goes into harsh environments, therefore he needs a way to keep those specimens as intact as possible, and of course under a really low temperature. Our idea was about actually designing this extreme structure that then holds this exterior shell that can move autonomously from the body. So imagine
It's like a gimbal or steady cam.
Yes,
That's basically.
Imagine that shell that's able to move around, dampening all the motions and all the impacts. So our idea was to make this skeleton that fits really close to the body, just like maybe Andrea is an automotive designer, so we took a lot of inspiration from the automotive design field.
You know, obviously, the main inspiration was, sports car seats, and the fact that those seats are like super, the performance is at the best, but if you want even the comfort to be at the best. And that's what happens inside this skeleton, I have to say. But what's outside, the outer part of this exoskeleton, is, let's say, based on an automotive feeling, talking about style. So it's this kind of sculptural shape that it's based on what we needed to put inside of it. So I'm talking about all the mechanism and suspensions and even the pockets and the cryogenic box itself. So everything is designed to be, everything is designed to fit perfectly. Everything that's going to be inside and the final user.
Finally, moving on to the renders. We actually wanted to go through every possible aspect of KeyShot as well. As you can see, we use almost any tool that the software allows us to do. For instance, here we really like to work with the caustics and those lights that really shows through the surfaces, and also the VBD shaders for the smoke. We also really enjoyed using the displacement tool that was really recently added, because even with that's you can see that in a lot of pictures here. Even with a more simple surface that you can draw in Gravity Sketch, then you can work with much more detail and actual geometry through the displacement. I think that's it. That covers everything.
Greetings to I also studied car design, and so I think it's been I don't tell people usually, because the minute you say that, I also studied product design. So the minute you tell people that you studied car design, they assume that styling skill set, which is so critical for automotive. Obviously, there's a technical background that's deep and intense, like with architecture, but styling is a critical piece of designing a product that in many ways doesn't change. A person always has to fit inside, it always has to drive, et cetera, et cetera. But what you guys did here with the tools, you worked with a model, and it seems like you were prepared to a certain degree to pull your model apart, to make notes on it, to show the inside pieces, and that to me was a very powerful experience. It's like you leveraging Gravity Sketch, and that is exciting to me, because I'm trying to figure out how to present work using these tools, And so the way you worked with the model, I really loved. But also just the visual beauty of the presentation space is absolutely magical.
Yeah, actually,
yeah, thank
space
you.
is for free in VR, so
But
we thought we
before,
use a lot.
but before we pat each other on the back, because I also did study car design and I know how to be really critical.
Yeah.
You didn't do you did not do an HDRI drop shadow for the sketch, and that would have been the most dramatic drop shadow in this entire presentation. If you had done like
Not gonna lie.
right? So definitely add that, and that's going to just be murderous because these sketches are so beautiful to look at. I start this way too. I always start with a scribble.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, we both know this is a pen sketch in 3D, and
Yeah.
you will also benefit from a pen-based tool in VR, because doing a sketch like this with your hand in a different position. I mean, how many tens of thousands of miles have you laid down ink on paper, and now you're being asked to lay down ink in a different way? And this is a sketch program, and I believe this is one of the more powerful images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's fresh, it's fast, but it actually conveys an idea so beautifully. And then I think that was the last point. I'm really moved by the visual beauty and the interaction of the presentation. So I thank you guys for that.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I think Noah hit a lot on the head there. I think the idea of doing something futuristic is awesome, and certainly something that I don't get to do very often. So I'm really impressed by the styling and all these beautiful renders here. I think you really pushed KeyShot to its limits as well. And I enjoy these kind of fun character-based, more organic kind of experiments with these pods that you have going on. And yeah, and to be honest, I think maybe the one part that was the most impressive to me was just the space that you set up with, making these custom lights and the shadows. And then I assume this is like these same images, but a lower.
Yes.
Yeah,
How did
exactly.
you figure out?
It's all those small
That's
details that really,
all those trick in the book.
yeah, really came through. So good job, guys.
But this is the next best thing I've seen in the last 1 year. I am not kidding when I say that this is seriously, it's not something which I'm going to forget for a long while, I guess, because when I dropped in, I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? And then I immediately went to your shadows, and I saw that you sketched the shadows and all that. So, really hats off to the production value which you've created here. It's brilliant. And I think most importantly, what really I enjoyed is what Noah picked on, is you have the file and you've just played with it, you've taken it apart and you've shown it to us how it comes together. And that is really nice, because for me that felt that it was not like a dummy model which you would see in a store. It functions to a certain degree, and kudos to doing that. And clearly you had fun. I know the project brief was a bag, but you had fun, and it's just great to see that how you've gone from capsules to little monsters in that, which are trapped in some sort of liquid, bikes and everything. So it's great to see that, and I think you've taken us along the journey in a great way. Thanks.
All right, good. So welcome everybody. My name is Žiga. I come from Slovenia, and I'm a recent Master of Industrial Design graduate. I studied at the FIM here in Graz. And yeah, the hiking back. So initially when I saw the challenge, I got really excited because I really wanted to participate and try out the Verity sketches and tool throughout my design process. I think it's a really, really powerful tool, and yeah, I was excited to participate. I started this challenge out with a bit of research on the hiking backpack and sort of what makes a good hiking backpack. I also talked to a lot of my friends who are, excuse me, who are active hikers, One of them is also my sister, who spends most of her weekends in the mountains. It's something we were doing. And based on our discussion, she gave me a lot of insights. And one of the main insights that she gave me was that she wants a sort of light backpack that doesn't get in the way of movement, and she can take probably anywhere. So this is sort of the starting point or the focus of my backpack. And with that in mind, I started diving a bit deeper into the research and really defining the things a bit more and creating a mood board. So starting off here on the left, I pasted sort of main three inspirational images that inspired me. This is first on the top left. We can see this Nike backpack with this structural frame and then the fabric in between. Also, in similar sort of concept here with the Bang & Olufsen speaker, we have this solid frame with the mesh in between. But what really inspired me the most was this office chair by Herman Miller, which is a really ergonomic chair, and Herman Miller is really known by their ergonomic chairs. And I started thinking, okay, what things can I take from this chair and apply it to a backpack? Because I really like this light aesthetic and sort of light feeling that this chair is giving to the user. And the main things that I extracted is sort of this frame that we have here, which I assume it's pretty flexible. So when the user sort of sits down and the shoulders are in this position, I guess this frame can bend and sort of adapt to the user, as well as the fabric that's sort of stretched in between. I think that then forms to the user's spine and really helps with the ergonomics. So these are the two main things I sort of took away from this image and this product, and I wanted to apply this to my backpacks. So this brings me here to the sketches then. Actually, I did a couple of different ideation sketches in between, but this is sort of the main rendered sketch with which I applied to the challenge. And then took a bit of time when the decision was going to take place. So in that time in between, because I haven't had any prior experience with Gravity Sketch, I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to model in Gravity Sketch and so on. I've also never modeled in sub-D, so that was something I was really looking forward to trying. Then I was fortunate enough to get in the final round, and I was able to start modeling my backpack. So what my usual process is with any other 3D program like Rhino, for example, this is something I use really often, is I take the sketch in and I start doing sort of the wireframe or the main lines to draw the shape. And how I did this is actually here on the main sketch, I just sort of started sketching out this shape and then taking this and started adjusting the different points to get to the final shape which you see over there with the wireframe. And where I sort of found out, or where was like an aha moment for me, is with the program, I quickly ran into problems. For example, due to the nature of the frame and this triangular shape here on the top, this sort of mirrored itself down to the bottom section. So with the initial sketch, the bottom part was more triangular like this. This sort of wasn't okay because the volume inside was really limited then. So I had to adjust this and sort of figure out how to make the shape work without losing this triangular shape on the bottom, but still giving access for the volume to the backpack. So once I figured this out, I sort of started blocking things in with some sub-D surfaces. So I started off with the frame. So the frame is actually, you can see it here on the main model. This is the same frame I started off with. And then the other things were the fabric. So that's the other thing I focused on. And the key thing here I want to point out is I was really thinking about how to sort of stretch the fabric in between the frame to give it this ergonomic functionality, the same as the chair does. And what I sort of came down to is I'm splitting the fabric into two pieces. So one piece is sort of this front part, which straps all the way around and down into the bottom part and attaches here. And then we have the two, let me delete this. Then we have the two middle fabric pieces. So this one, and also on the other side, this one, which also attach to the inner side of the frame. And then the other fabric piece is actually this one here. Let me just unlock the model. So this piece here is actually the second piece, or the second fabric piece that attaches to the inner side. And this is actually the piece that sort of helps with ergonomics. I think somebody moved the frame a bit, so I'll just lock it back in place so we don't move anything by mistake.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, we have we have the back button, so it's fine. So yeah, once I got this shape down and sort of deal with the fabric and how the straps actually attach, and also the hip straps, I could start working on the details. And this is actually where I pulled in some of the images. You can see here at the bottom of the wireframe. So I pulled in a buckle that was really interesting to me. I really like the simple form of it, and you can clearly see where the connection point is to unlock it. And then this functional zipper, I think, also ties in nicely with this aesthetic of the backpack that I was going for. It's really simple, and the form sort of speaks for itself. So if we move up here to these two great images, here you can see this basic fabric model with the frame, and then the red lines are actually the details that I started sketching in. So here on the right side, you can see how I was thinking about adding the straps. Also some padding on the inside, which I sort of then decided to left out, and also how the buckles might look. And then on the left side here, we have sort of where the zippers would go. So we have one zipper here on the side, which is like a small pocket for small essential stuff. And then a big pocket here on the top that unzips the whole top part, and you can sort of reach into the backpack. And this brings me then to the main model here in the center. So I saw that you guys already took a spin around, but maybe one thing I want to point out is the images at the bottom. So here on the front side, we have sort of the three different colorways. I forgot to mention the CMF, so I'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, here on the front, you can see sort of the front view. If we pan to the left side, here are some detailed shots of the buckles. One thing I want to point out here is we have this pentagon shape that's sort of in the front of the frame, and I wanted to carry out this also into the buckles. So we have this cut shape here, also on the straps, also on the edges of the strap, also then in this bottom buckle. So this is a detail I tried to carry out throughout the straps. Then if we pan again to the left, we have the back side of the backpack, again rendered in different colors. And then another pan to the left gives us the details of the zippers. This line is a bit small, but yeah, the details of the zipper, and also a more detailed shot of the frame. The texture isn't that visible here because the image is quite small, but again. And then the last thing I wanted to show to you guys is actually, I have also a human with the backpack on, or mannequin with the backpack on, just to give it a bit more scale and the feeling of scale actually, so you guys can see how this sort of plays out on the mannequin.
So first of all, gorgeous. There's a quiet elegance to this product that I love it, because at first there was a simplicity that I wasn't sure about, and then I realized as you went on and explained your decision process and highlighted the features and functions that I realized its elegance. There's a silence and a kind of this serenity to the form language and the overall form that I really find actually quite appealing in the end. There's also an irony to that this structure, this type of construction, provides you with a bit of armor. And I don't know if anyone here has ever ridden a subway in a big city, But in Europe, there are constantly people bumping into you, and this would actually give like a nice little bit of a standoff in a crowded train or in a large, just in a large crowd of people. I like that. You talked about Herman Miller, and my rule is that I never put reference images that are sexier than what I designed, and you certainly bit off a lot by putting a Herman Miller chair, and so it's your own fault that I'm going to say, if you're going to show me a Herman Miller chair, then I want to see surface transitions, you know, that are pushed even farther. There's something starting to happen here. This transition from this primary to your bridging to your foot, I want those transitions to tell that story. I feel like maybe some of the highlight here is not really telling it. It's a bit more here, it's working, but I want to see a bit more refinement in that. And then I want to see in the handle, it's okay if it's that big, but I want to have a little bit of storytelling.
All right.
I'm not sure, but feel free to like polish these surfaces forever, really, until the last second, because you have a Herman Miller chair there, and any surface you look at on there does that. And because you're interacting directly with the human form, any hard structure needs that level of polish, just so that the consumer trusts that they're going to be comfortable wearing this. Wear and tear at the foot, I'd like to see you address that.
Okay.
Because that could also just be a very beautiful third read or small detail. Let's see, yeah, exactly, iconic forms, clean surfaces. So really beautiful, especially if it gets me excited to see, you know, pushing it farther, pushing it farther, pushing it farther. Really doing like some Class A surfacing on this would make sense to me, because I would like to see a version that has a high gloss finish. Maybe it's the one you put in the shop window so people come in and buy the matte aluminum or the, right? And as a retailer, I only buy one high gloss, whatever, mirror finish, but the surfaces are so beautiful, they can support it. So it's gorgeous. I'm excited to see it develop. And last point, sad but true, the floor really does, it makes it better.
Awesome.
My brain, I just feel so pathetic. I mean, I love the plants on the floor. It makes me feel more comfortable. So just all in all, just very beautiful, very, very professional. I'm definitely going to take some lessons away about you know, refining forms, and it's quite beautiful. You did a great job.
I think this looks really cool. I love the simplicity of it. And you know, I think in your sketch kind of conveys the idea, but when you took on Gravity Sketch and, you know, paired it with KeyShot, with, you know, you really pushed KeyShot to its limits as well, with a lot of displacement maps and kind of some opacity with the see-through mesh. I think you really, you know, took your idea up a whole nother level. So that's awesome to see. In terms of, I guess maybe some things that I'm kind of thinking about or concerned of. I'm not entirely sure this little what do you call this, the waist belt, whatever it's called. I'm not entirely sold on it in terms of, I guess, how it connects to the bag, or maybe the overall simple aesthetic. You know, I think for hiking it makes sense, but you know, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe there's an exploration there. And then the other thing I was thinking about is kind of this opening here. You know, I don't know if you set this thing on the ground, is it going to rest on this little rim? And then, you know, your whole thing's tilted a little bit, so you're probably kind of, you know, reaching in from this side. So I don't know. I think it would have been cool to maybe incorporate, because when it's sitting on the ground this way, you would have kind of this open presentation for the back. So you could walk up to it and it's like almost ready to say like, hey, you know, I'm ready to come on your back. But it's not ready to pack up. So I almost want to see like, what if this comes right here, and then there's like a different angle here that allows you to say, all right, on this angle, this is where you're kind of loading up your bag. And then on this angle, that's when it's kind of sitting around ready for you to put on. I think there could have been some cool interaction play there. But overall, great presentation, and I enjoy the space that you've created. It's really nice and clean, and I love this little picture frame that you put on this thing.
Thank you for the feedback. I think that was really constructive, and this is also something I was thinking of, right? As you said, when you put it down, it's sort of resting on this. But I didn't think of the issue with loading things in, right? That then it's actually at an angle. So I think that's some great feedback. So I was envisioning you would sort of build stuff in, that you would hold it here by the top, right? And this would be sort of unzipped, and then you would sort of put things in, right? But if you lay it on the ground, then it probably sits on this edge at the bottom, and then it's an angle. So that's great.
Well, I like Nick's point as well, because if you have a hard frame like this, you're actually giving maybe the opportunity to really push this this form language, or rather the functionality. Like the form could actually be maybe the bottom of the bag is much narrower than a normal bag because it has a hard foot, and then you can you have this nice big area here where you can get perfectly oriented zippers, to Nick's point, like pocket access and everything. So the bag could sit quite elegantly on a foot like that. You could go quite narrow because it would provide more stability than a soft bag with a shifting load inside of it. So that you could, and there's some of your surfacing as well. Like there's nothing wrong with pulling these sides in because of arm swing, just to kind of tuck it in even farther behind your back. I don't know, but yeah, I like the idea of using this to address his point that you could really get it to sit. With this system, would know exactly how the bag is going to sit every time you put it down.
Sure.
I think I'll just echo the points there. Like first, starting with the presentation, the wooden floor does make it quite warm and homely in the sense, in terms of presentation. So it feels like a familiar space which you're walking into. It also does have this Nike vibe. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you were aiming for, and like the plant pots, all that does add a nice ambience. But that's more in terms of just the environment you've created in. Jumping onto the bag, I think one point which I would have loved to see, at least as an exploration, is that right now you've taken this extrusion and you have sort of railed it in different planes and different angles. But I don't know if you see it over here. What I've done is a little bellow on the belly, and that's sort of celebrating what Herman Miller is doing there, like sort of celebrating the form. It's not just an extrusion. So this is echoing that's the handle area. So it would have been interesting to see you play with the form in order to echo the function or the purpose of it. And that's on the top. Now just shifting right to the bottom. My little concern there was you're exposing the fabric all the way down. And would you want to either, I don't know, have another compartment over there where you could take out, I don't know, a waterproof bag or a sleeping bag or something? Because at the end of the day, this is a hiking backpack, and it depends upon who's your user target. But I feel it's obviously a tough choice to strike balance between simplicity, functionality, and all that. So in terms of storage, accessibility, I feel it's close to an everyday backpack rather than a hiking backpack. Now, take that with a pinch of salt. So it really depends upon the target. So that's where I was thinking I thought initially the bottom section was going to be another compartment, and I thought there was some potential for that. But I also love the detail which you put into buckles, the details, and as you said, this pentagonal ending which you've just taken over to every detail, that's a really nice thought. I thought I would have seen that in the zipper, like towards the pull area. I know you put it towards the locker, but I thought it could be nice to come the other way too. It's just a tiny detail.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I have to say what Nick spotted. It struck me very early. I think it's maybe in the angle in which you sketch the bag, that if you were to sketch it with a ground plane, I feel the center of gravity of the bag might be visually unstable. That's one. But you could physically stabilize it with heavier materials or a compartment, as Noah said. But I don't know, it's also about rotating your model and keeping it on the ground and seeing how that looks. Because throughout your visuals, it's always floating in the air at this angle. And it makes me wonder if you ever rotated it with respect to ground planes.
Maybe I can, somebody's drawing a surface now. Let me just group this, so then we can, oops. Sorry.
You have to recognize that if everybody's sitting here sketching and stuff, that means you have touched on some innovation. Oh, that's quite nice. Look at that. Yeah, that means your zipper is here now.
Yeah.
So, which is actually a quite logical spot if you did it right here.
Yeah.
Right, Nick, to your point.
So I was thinking actually to have sort of this part where the straps are, be, you know, one of those backpacks that has the zipper sort of on the inside, right? So if you put it, whole front part sort of steps down, and then you can access your stuff. But the issue with this was that I really wanted this fabric to be stretched and to act as a functional piece, and I didn't want to have it, or I didn't want to implement the zipper in, right? But yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but if you had to look at this, I mean, if you have, it's a great, I love the form, and if you had a clamshell zipper, because clamshell bags are the best.
Yeah.
All bags should have a clamshell, and if that's your clamshell zipper, and the whole thing just flops forward, then all of a sudden the frame, this all makes sense. Like this is almost like, and this is for bumping into people on the subway.
It's more protection rather than accessibility. Yeah, that would be a nice twist.
Right. That's for the slings and arrows, and then this is your clamshell, and it just tears open, and this whole system right here then disappears when you're doing when you're accessing your bag. So all the straps and everything just go away.
Sure.
And one point which I wanted to add was visually, and also it's thanks to the materials which you've all explored, is it's definitely a lightweight backpack. So in that aspect, for me, it does check the box for a hiking backpack, that when you see it, you're like, oh, that's super light. It's not going to put extra load on my back or shoulder. So in that way, I think you've struck a sweet spot there. And also the see-through materials, and also the colors which you have picked. I think it's really sweet. It's quite fresh. That I haven't seen a lot of backpacks, especially in the light pale teal colors. So really, really nice job there.
Awesome.
Yeah, it also does remind me of POC a little. So yeah.
Yeah, the POC form language. But seeing this thing sit on the ground like this, yeah, it is deceptively simple. And I would maybe, just to make it a proper, to say, look, yeah, this is a hiking bag, that could be, I would increase the volume of the bag a little bit. But I'm really kind of digging this shape, because then it has a dynamic look when it sits on your back. It kind of kicks up at the tail.
Yeah.
Right? It gives it a sporty kind of feel, but when it sits on the ground like this, and you have a clamshell and you tear that thing open, this all disappears. The access is great. So yeah, I just need one with camouflage and like matte black frame.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
I'll take a white to keep inside the house and a black to take every day outside.
Let's get a notepad so I can write the wishes down.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, this is just beautiful work, Zika. I don't really have much to add on top of what all the judges have said. It's just super elegant, and the shape super dynamic, very fresh, all those things. It's just beautiful work. Were you gonna say something, Noah?
No, I'm just chuckling. I was thinking, I was thinking it was going to be easy to step in, pick one out. There was going to be a lot of hand holding, and honestly, it's this combination of it's a little overwhelming, to be honest. Like, I've done enough backpack reviews, but I've never seen that much work in that compact a space or amount of time, and I'm a little bowled over. And I think we should just go ahead and do the hard work of trying to figure out which person fulfilled the the brief better, but it has nothing to do with any one of these being anything other than really engaging, really interesting, really fun to look at.
Also, I don't trust anyone saying that they are using Gravity Sketch for the first time. I don't buy that.
I know.
No, seriously, that everyone was saying, yeah, I'm doing it for the first time.
Yeah, you guys killed it.
All right. I can't wait to see more of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I echo everything what Noah said.
Yeah, great job, guys. I thought it was a lot of fun to see all these things, and I feel like I learned a ton because you guys had so many different techniques on how you created these things. So it's so cool to see and a lot of fun. So great job.
Sweet.